Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation, right here, Jeff Waldorf with you. Got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff related, of course, to the caravan, to the midterm elections. Of course, it's coming up. All that shit's related. So we're going to dive right into that, including maybe one of the most racist ads ever. I'm not kidding. We've got that. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you the ad, and then we're going to break it down. We also have, of course, Donald Trump continuing the George Soros, not George. Goddamn. It's one of those days. It's been a really tough day today. We also have a Fox News host coming out against Donald Trump's rhetoric, against the media. That's interesting. I wonder if there's a little bit of self-interest involved. We'll talk about that. We also have a Trump supporter apologizing to Jim Acosta. That's interesting. We'll talk about that as well. Then we have the true cost of what Donald Trump is doing when it comes to sending troops to the border. How much will it be? How much of a ripoff is it just for Donald Trump's stunt? And then we've got a family problem in Missouri. Apparently, a candidate's kids don't want you to vote for this candidate, for their dad. Fascinating. So we've got that. A lot of stories here. Some video clips along with it. So stick with the show. But before I do, announcement. You guys may have seen some of the tweets and some of the Facebook messages, etc. I had some pretty bad financial news today. Basically, what it means is that I've got to get away from YouTube revenue. So what does that mean for you guys? Well, it means I'm basically asking for you guys to help out and help fund the show. So I know I ask you guys that all the time. And it's serious, right? And it's serious every time. It's just that right now we've kind of reached the end of the rope, right? And so it's either, you know, pull ourselves up with your help or hang. And I don't want to do, I don't want to do that. So, and of course that's all metaphorical, not literal. So what I need is, I need your guys' help. I know, again, everybody's asking you for this, and I hate fucking doing this because I hate asking, but YouTube, again, it is now impossible to start, to actually run a business on YouTube. So, and I'm trying to run this as a business and to grow and to hopefully bring on some, an editor and, for God's sakes, a co-host. Which I think would enhance the show greatly, but I can't do that. I don't have the resources. And so what we need is for you guys to sign up to be patrons. I know, patreon.com/2ATNation. I hammer this home because, again, this is something that's necessary. This is something that we need in order to grow and to stay on the air. Because it's gotten to a point of where the channel, the show is unsustainable without outside support. And YouTube itself knows this. That's why they're like, hey, buy merch. Here you go. Oh, we're going to do links for Patreons now because we don't feel like paying creators. And that's one of the big problems. And so that's why we need your help. Patreon.com/TYTNation. You got to do it if you can, like, and you care about, these shows and stuff. Again, we give you free content all the time. And we want to keep doing that. But there are people that are going to have to, support independent media because we can't do this without you. This has got to be a community effort. You know what I mean? And for the people who want to but can't, I hear you. I understand. There's a lot of people that I want to support on Patreon, fellow creators like myself, that I'm currently unable to do as well. And I try to give, any kind of support that I can to the other creators out there. I mean, right now I'm supporting the Humanist Report. I'm supporting, I think, Ron Placone. I'm supporting, you know, Secular Talk. So we're all trying to get through this together, right? And so it is a community effort. And any help that you guys can do, because you're a fantastic community, you know, I beseech you. You know, you guys are the only way that independent media can stay on the air. Okay. All right. Enough of that. Again, I'm tired of asking, but I have to. It's gotten to a point of where I can't avoid it. So, but you guys are here for news, so I'm going to give you some news. Let's move on. Let's do this. Okay. A new ad released by the Trump campaign may be the racist ad ever. Now, I'm going to show you that ad right now, and then I'm going to break it down, but I think it'll be pretty clear why I say that when you see it. Watch.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please step out of the hallway.
If he's dead, somebody will break out soon, and I'll kill more. So the only thing if I get revenge is if I can just kill two. I wish I can kill more of those motherfuckers. I'll kill more cops soon.
He says he wants to apply for pardon for the felony he committed. Attempt of murder.
Wow. Okay, then. So that video has been seen by millions of people so far. I mean, I guess I'm having a hard time really kind of figuring out where the hell to start. I mean, you got images of you know, supposed immigrants crashing through barriers. Oh my God, they're going to get in, and the Democrats want them to get in, and the people that are the murderers and the cop killers, that's who the Democrats want. None of that is true. None of that is true. But they make it look like it's an invasion. Of course, they want you to think about the caravan, right? The immigrant caravan. The people that are escaping Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala, that are escaping actual violence. They want you to think, I should say, that they're going to come here and they're going to do violence on you. And that they're going to replace you. So that's why this is an incredibly racist ad. Holy hell, man. I mean, again, it asks, who else are the Democrats going to let in? They're going to let in ISIS? They want you to think, they want you to be afraid, right? It is nothing but fear, 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 fear. I don't even know if that's our border that video is from. It's probably from someone else, or from some other place with some other completely different context. That's what they do. They take videos out of context and they use them to spread fear against immigrants here at home. So that's what they do, right? The immigrants are coming. They're gonna come kill you, right? That's what this ad is, and it paints all immigrants like the guy in the ad, like Luis Bracamontes. Which, by the way, the guy's a piece of shit. So of course nobody wants him in the country. Democrats don't want him in the country. If you do a crime like murder somebody, yeah, of course you should be deported. Now that guy is basically on death row for what he did. Now, I don't agree with the death penalty in any context, but you can't argue that we haven't, you know, tried to deal with that guy and giving him what he's, a lot of people, especially a lot of people on the right, think he deserves. But anyway, again, this video, this ad, it's not even a dog whistle anymore, right? This is a human whistle. This is straight up racist fear-mongering. But you know what's more dangerous right now than undocumented immigrants? Than the so-called caravan? Right-wing domestic terrorists, right? Like the guy who sent over 15 devices to prominent Democrats. No, but the devices didn't go off, Jeff, so it doesn't really count. Okay, what about the man who killed 11 people at a Jewish synagogue based on, the caravan, because that's some of the stuff that he retweeted, right? The social media stuff. Oh my God, it's the caravan. And the Jews are funding the caravan, so I'm going to go take care of the Jews. Screw the optics, I'm going in. That's what he literally said, his last message, before he perpetrated the shooting, right? Not only that, there's a story that wasn't reported that happened this week, right? Where you had a man that tried to shoot a black church. He couldn't get inside, so then he went to a Kroger that was nearby and just randomly shot 2 different African Americans. And they're still trying to figure out if it's a hate crime or not. Well, I would say. And all of those things just happened last week. In total, we've had 154 mass shootings this year. You know how many of those are from undocumented immigrants? How many? None. Zero. In fact, a lot of the violence that we have seen is from right-wing domestic terrorists. According to an analysis of crime data by the Anti-Defamation League, white supremacists and other far-right extremists were responsible for 59% of all extremist-related fatalities in the United States just last year. 59%. That is a sizable number. And over the last decade, from 2008 to 2017, 71% of domestic extremist-related killings in the U.S. were linked to right-wing extremists. That's the facts. That's the reality. We are getting far more attacks and violence from the far right than we are from anyone else in this country. Now imagine the Democrats release an ad today or tomorrow before the midterms that highlight all the killings by these right-wingers with the tagline, "Republicans don't want to ban white men." Do you know how many heads would explode? Now, the Democrats, of course, would never do that, and I wouldn't advocate for that. But at the same time, these are the people that get mad at Don Lemon for saying, hey, why aren't we banning white men? I mean, if we're going to ban Muslims, and if we're going to ban, people coming from Honduras and El Salvador, undocumented immigrants, ban them from coming into the country, well then, why don't we ban white men who do most of the violence? White right-wingers who do most of that violence. Now, they flipped out over that. They absolutely, oh my God, how dare Don Lemon do that? What a racist. Again, imagine the outrage, right? But the thing is that if they did do an ad like that, it wouldn't be wrong. Look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. But there are a lot of people on the right that do. And they do it all the time. On things like immigration. Now, this ad is getting some pushback. Now, even some from some Republicans, but of course, these Republicans are Trump critics, right? For example, you had Arizona Republican Senator Jeff Flake. Now, he said, quote, "This is just a new low in campaigning. It's sickening." Well, Jeff Flake, you might not be familiar with the past, with past Republican campaigns, are you? In fact, this has been the Republican strategy for years. This is, and I'm dubbing this the Southern Strategy 2.0. It's not the first time they've done something like this, right? Now, instead, of course, like the first Southern strategy, campaigning on scary black people coming to the polls, no, what they're doing now is they're campaigning on scary Mexicans coming into the country. Instead of scary blacks, scary Mexicans. Southern Strategy 2.0, guys. And of course, they're doing that while ignoring actual data, actual reality, and any of the numbers that I just cited when it comes to right-wing domestic terrorism. Which, by the way, Donald Trump and his campaign, and his administration has basically taken away, defunded government agencies that actually look into right-wing domestic terror. It's almost as if they're protecting right-wing terrorists and saying, oh, no, it's okay, guys. No, go ahead and go out there and do terror attacks against, immigrants and Jewish people and blacks. Go ahead and go out there and do that. That's the message that they send. Now, this ad has been compared to another ad from the 1980s, Willie Horton. Now, the Willie Horton ad, I think until now, was considered the most racist ad in history. Now, that, of course, was done by the George H.W. Bush campaign back in the 1980s when he was running against Michael Dukakis, right? And they said, oh, Willie Horton, well, dangerous guy, the murderer, right? Well, you know who let him out so he can murder more? Michael Dukakis. He pardoned him. Or paroled, sorry. He paroled him. And Republicans seized on that. And they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to run this ad. And we're going to fearmonger the shit out of this. And you know what? It worked. We didn't have President Dukakis. No, we had George H.W. Bush. Fear-mongering works. Fear sells, guys. They ran this nonstop. And now this ad, this is Willie Horton 2.0. And it may actually even be worse, right? Now, again, I'm going to go to some tweets here from, obviously, Trump critics. We've got Robert Reich, right? I wasn't around for, I wasn't in politics when they ran the Willie Horton ad. But there's some people on here commenting who were, including Robert Reich. He said, this may be the most desperate and vile ad since Willie Horton. Trump and Republicans don't want to talk about the fact that they plan to repeal the ACA, gut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and cut taxes even further for their donors. So they've resorted to fear-mongering. Absolutely correct. They won't run in the giant tax cuts because it only benefited rich people. The economy, but the economy grew by 3%. Inflation grew by 2.7%. Wages are essentially flat and stagnant. While jobs, but the unemployment rate is down. Yeah, but the quality of job is not very good, okay? In fact, right now, 62% of all jobs don't make enough to support a middle-class lifestyle. 62%. That's why we have a shrinking middle class, along with the death of unions, which, of course, is being shepherded in by Republicans, and they want to even create a national right-to-work law. So they're crushing unions. They're giving their donors gigantic tax cuts, deregulation, and of course, what have all these corporations spent their money on? They have spent it on stock buybacks, which they immediately cash in and put right back in their pocket. That's what they're doing. So they don't want to run on any of that. Oh, no. Let's run on fear. Let's run on fear of the other. Right? Now, here's the thing, right? I've got more tweets. John Harwood said, as you recall, Bush campaign distanced himself from the Willie Horton TV ad. This is coming directly from the President of the United States. From dog whistle to guttural scream. That is accurate as fuck. Absolutely. And look, is Trump going to ever move away from this? No, of course not. He knows exactly what he's doing. See, Trump, he's an idiot, but he's a pretty good PR guy. He is his own PR guy. And so he goes out and he spreads this and he talks about this. And look, he wants this election, this midterm, to be a referendum on himself. He thinks that if I excite everybody that voted for me in 2016 to come out, well, then I'm going to win the election. Or at least the people that I support are going to win the election, right? I don't know if that's going to work. Then again, we've got the Democrats over here, Pelosi, saying, oh, no, we're going to win. Don't worry. She might as well just put a sign up and says, stay home, Democrats. Everything's going to be fine. We got this in the bag. Ridiculous. That's the difference. Trump is actually a good campaigner because that's what he likes doing. He likes talking about himself. You have to be a bit of a narcissist to be able to run for office and to be actually good at it. Well, the Democrats, they suck. They're terrible at campaigning, terrible at messaging. but at least are better on policy. In fact, right now, buried headline. Democrats, as soon as they get in office, want to start passing anti-corruption legislation. And things to strengthen the Voting Rights Act, to bring it back to full strength, to not disenfranchise people. Now, that's not on the front page because Democrats have no idea how to fucking message. I think that's great. Running on an anti-corruption platform is amazing. Why are there no ads out there saying, we are against corruption? Because, again, that's what a lot of these right-wingers run on. Donald Trump ran on anti-corruption, anti-establishment. Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil ran on anti-establishment, anti-corruption. All these far right-wingers that are getting into power, what are they doing? They're fighting against the establishment. They're fighting against anti-corruption. Democrats aren't doing that. They're not doing that at all. And of course, a big component of a lot of these right-wingers is they run on fear, right? Not only fear of the other, but of course on anti-corruption. So they should be able to make that case, spread that message, but they don't because they suck. They suck at messaging. And I laugh because it's so flippin' obvious. Okay, but there's more. Jim Roberts. Trump continues to stoke the first of fear and racism with the new ad that accuses Democrats of plotting to help Central American invaders in the U.S. Eric Umansky said, 30 years ago, George H.W. Bush released his infamous fear-mongering racist ad on Willie Horton. This Trump ad is worse, far worse. I would say it's right in line with what the Democrats, or I'm sorry, with what the Republicans have been doing to the Democrats for a long time. And what did you expect? This is balls to the wall, fucking hardcore politics, right? This is the kind of politics that Democrats are afraid to play. They're afraid to play. They won't do it. They won't play hardball. They insist on playing patty cakes with Republicans, while Republicans will come in and slap them in the face. Maybe it's time, I don't know, they stop doing that. Maybe it's time to actually be tough, run on issues that actually people fucking care about. Like, again, anti-corruption. It's great. Keep running on that. Keep running on anti-corruption. And how about you add in Medicare for all, single-payer health care, and a living wage and free college while you're at it. And there are a lot of Democrats that are. And I think in the midterms, as long as people come out and show up, they're going to slaughter. So, and that brings me to my last point, right? Get out there and vote. This motivates the Trump base. This motivates them to get out there. You need to get out there too. Or else these guys who put out these ads are going to continue to win. And they're going to continue to basically destroy the country in order to enrich their donors. I hope I'm clear. I'm a little fucking saucy today. I don't know if you know that. Man. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next story here. All right. President Trump is fairly sure that somebody is funding the migrant caravan. He just is not sure who. Maybe it could be George Soros. I want to show you this video where he recently continued to stoke the fires against George Soros and others. Take a look.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. No, I wouldn't. I don't know who, but I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people say yes. Have you heard from Kanye West? We get along great. He's a good guy.
Yo, do you think somebody's funding the caravan? I don't know. Is it George Soros? Yeah, probably. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people say yes. Who says yes? Who says yes to that? Well, I've got an answer, right? So here you have, and I want to point out, this is really important, right? So this isn't coming from people like Alex Jones. Well, it is, right? Alex Jones or, Breitbart. Again, it is coming from that, but it's not. Who are the people saying that? These are Republican figures. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, he is saying this. George Soros, right? Representative Louis Gohmert, a man who I thought might have been the dumbest person in elected office. Oh man, how quickly he lost that mantle. And Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida. They have all talked about George Soros. Oh, George Soros. He must be funding the immigrant caravan. George Soros, the Jews. It must be the Jews, right? Not only that, but it's been conservative media as well, as I mentioned a couple of others. Breitbart. I think it was surprised. I think Matt Drudge talking about, and I might be wrong about that, but actually going after Trump for trying to blame Jews on this. But look, Soros he is a target on the right. So is it any surprise that there's been actual literal violence against him or attempted violence against him? In fact, you had people just last week sending Soros a bomb right to his house. An improvised explosive from a Trump fan, guy who had a van plastered in Trump stickers. Not only that, but you had an attacker shoot 11 people at a synagogue, the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh, right? You know what he said about the caravan? Well, the Jews, i.e. Soros and others, well, they must be funding the caravan. And of course, part of the conspiracy is, well, the Democrats are bringing in the caravan and it's funded by the Jews, and George Soros is a Jew and he's giving Democrats, and they're funding this caravan to come in and replace us. Is it any wonder why people who are not all there listen to this and they go, oh my God, I got to do something. Robert Bowers, he's like, screw the optics. I'm going in. I got to do something about this. I'm not going to let the Jews replace us. That's what they say, right? It's Charlottesville. Who can forget the chant where they were with their stupid tiki torches saying Jews will not replace us? There is a huge problem with anti-Semitism in this country. Huge problem. And here's the president basically stoking that fire, right? Now, here's the thing, right? So we've got Republicans in Congress. Like Donald Trump, I don't expect him to know better. But these congressmen should. You would think that they would know better. But of course, then we've got people like Steve King, who is basically a white supremacist. And then we have other people who are spreading anti-Semitic propaganda about this caravan to other members. These people are elected officials in office. Now tell me how Gaetz, Gohmert, and McCarthy shouldn't be considered white supremacists for what they're spreading. With no proof. They are spreading nothing but fear, and it's getting people hurt. It's getting people killed. But you know what this is all about? This is the most maddening thing about this entire situation. They know it's bullshit. Now, they spread that conspiracy. Maybe Trump doesn't know it's bullshit. Maybe he does. But I can guarantee you, at least McCarthy and Gaetz know it's crap. They know that nobody's funding the caravan. They know. But why do they do it? It's because they're playing politics. That's what they're doing. This is all about getting a few cheap wins in the midterm elections. That's what this is all about. Got to get them midterm voters out there, man. Got to excite the base. And what excites the current Republican base? Anti-Semitism. We are at that point in the world where anti-Semitism is again rearing its ugly head, and it is right out there, and it is in the open. That is awful. This is terrible for democracy and terrible in so many reasons. We do not want to go down this road anymore, but it appears that with our president and with all the conspiracy fearmongers and far-right people that are in Congress now and that have basically ascended in the media, it appears that we are down that road. And it's not a good thing. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a Fox News host actually fighting back against Donald Trump's rhetoric on the media. We're going to talk about that. It will probably surprise you who it is. So we'll come back. We'll do that right here, Round the Nation. Everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf with you. We have a super chat from Elwell says, I just increased my Patreon membership from 5 to 25. I hope it helps. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It helps more than you realize. So I really do appreciate everybody coming together and trying to help me out. I do appreciate that a lot. So thank you. Okay. So there was another comment that I wanted to get to as well, asking, well, why doesn't the TYT main channel help you out? Well, that's not how it works. Basically, what happens, without getting into too much detail, because I don't know if I'm actually allowed to share too much of that detail, but basically, channels that join the network only get paid through ads. So we actually don't get any funding from the studio. We don't get any funding from the Young Turks. No investment funding, nothing like that. So everything that I have, it's from either ad revenue or from Patreon or stuff that I bought prior. I remember when I started the show and I bought a webcam. Ironically, it's the same webcam that I'm using right now to film the show on. So I originally bought that years ago, back in 2012. Bought this webcam, and I had a laptop from school that I used. I bought that with student loans. So that's basically the equipment that I brought to create the show on. And then, you know, from there, it's been funding from you guys and funding from YouTube advertisements. So we don't get anything from the Young Turks, the main channel. So, and that's how the partnership works. Every other partner out there, the Young Turks, same way. You know, Secular Talk, everything that Kyle has, Kyle got on his own. Everything that, you know, Sam Cedar got on his own. Humanist Report, same thing. So that's kind of how that works on the MCN. So that, hopefully that answers your question. All right, guys. So let's move on. Let's talk about a little bit of criticism. Interesting. Okay. Following what many have been seeing as incendiary rhetoric coming from President Trump, a Fox News host has come out and said, hey, you know what? That rhetoric is not helpful and it's not necessary. Now, this is Martha McCallum. Now, Martha McCallum is a Fox host. She's actually a 14-year veteran of Fox News. And she has said that when Donald Trump calls the press the enemy of the people, she finds that, quote, both disturbing and a mistake. Now, she was on Politico's podcast earlier this fall. That's where the interview had come from. And she said, you know what? I think I take it personally. When he says the media is the enemy of the people, I take it personally. I think we all do. And she means, of course, everybody in the media. Now, what's interesting is that in a recent episode of Fox and Friends, one of the hosts was also like, yeah, you might want to not call all media the enemy of the people. I think maybe they're starting to realize, oh shit, you know what? We're the media. We're actually the media. Oh crap, maybe we need to be like, oh hey, Mr. President, not all media is the enemy of the people. No, it's not. They're unfair to you, as she goes on to explain. The Fox News host primetime show, The Story with Martha McCallum, noted that there have been, quote, mistakes made on all sides of the equation. I love the both sidesism, right? Well, I mean, both sides have made mistakes, but, you know, both Trump, but the media has also made a mistake. But otherwise, please don't call us the enemy of the people. The enemy of the people. Okay. And she says that Trump's fake news generalizations were just unfair. Actually, look, here's the thing. It's not unfair, right? It's patently false. The news, mainstream media, doesn't go into smoke-filled rooms and just make up stories. That's not what they do. Do they have a bias? Oh, absolutely. They have an establishment bias. Of course. And so they'll write, terrible articles about Trump. Of course, sometimes they'll be unfair against Trump in their opinion pieces. And of course, sometimes mostly they'll be unfair against people like Bernie Sanders, for example, or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's bias. Now, is it fake news? No. No, the thing is that when they go and report on stuff, first of all, my big problem with the media is that they're too interested in neutrality, right? Everything's neutral, got to call everything 50-50. No, that's not true. If something is true, you say that it's true, and if something is a lie, well, then it's a lie. Now, originally, the news media, they didn't know what to make of Trump. And so they're like, I don't know, Trump says this, people say that. Now, they've actually gotten tougher against President Trump, and I think that's a good thing. But you have to be tough, and you also have to be objective, right? You also have to say, no, that's a lie. Here's what the truth is. Here's what the facts are, right? And then here's our opinion. Our opinion shows. Here's what we're saying on our opinion shows, right? So that's one of the problems with the media. And of course, McCallum, she can't go and criticize Trump and say, no, that's a lie. There is no thing as such as fake news. That's wrong. But she says, no, that generalization is unfair. Meaning that I think levied towards certain other media outlets, she might actually say it is fair. But that's my guess. Right? That's my guess. Or she's just being super nice for the hopes that, the president will actually listen to her. I don't know. But anyway, there's more. She said to Politico, I think that often the media doesn't cut him a break. Okay, look, fair enough. You want to criticize the media on that. That's a fair assumption. There are definitely media outlets that don't give him any credit when he does something decent. But then again, he actually also has to do decent things. And that would help a lot. Again, if the guy said, you know what? Screw you, GOP. I see that Medicare for all is super popular. I'm going to push for that. We're going to push for Medicare for all. Hey, Republicans, I know that a majority of you actually care about healthcare and want Medicare for all. So, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be the most popular president in history. Hey, if he actually wants to be, then maybe he should start doing stuff like that. And I'd give him a lot of credit. And of course, mainstream media probably wouldn't, because they're pretty much against the idea of Medicare for all. But I'm really kind of getting into the weeds of this. So let me get back to what McCallum said. She said, on the other hand, when he points at the press in the back of the room and calls them the enemy of the people, that is wrong. And I completely agree with that. She said, it exacerbates the situation, and I think it inflames the media towards him. It puts all of us in a bad place. Oh, no, so that's really important, right? So another mistake that mainstream media is making is that they are taking this personally. So you can do media critique, and you can call the media out for being unfair or having an establishment bias and writing terrible articles. Again, which they do a lot of on Trump, and some of them might not be fair. And they do, articles on Bernie Sanders, also not fair, right? You can call that out. But when you do, and you're outside of that media bubble, well, then they take it personally. Oh, how dare you attack the establishment media? We are the honorable New York Times. What are you doing? You must be some of those agitators out on the outside trying to destroy the news. No, if you have a valid criticism, then you're just trying to make the media better. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make media better. But when you critique the media, they take it very personally. But it's not about personality. It's about, hey, are you actually serving the public good doing your broadcasts? And so that's the important thing to focus on, right? Now, as far as it putting us in a bad place, it is true. So she does make some pretty important points, while also sort of saying, hey, look, please stop calling us fake news, because we're on your side. We're Fox News. So, but stop calling us fake news, and really stop calling media fake news, because that's not fair. And I think that's overall a good message, and I'm actually in support of it. Now, McCollum also said to Politico that the president never called her out personally. He has said to me, quote, "Sometimes you're nice to me, sometimes you're not," which I take as a compliment because that's exactly the role I see myself in. I do like to make sure that I'm being as objective as possible in covering him. Well, look, I don't watch Martha McCallum's show, so I don't know if she's being objective or if she's actually being too friendly to Trump. But you can tell Trump's perspective from this. His whole perspective is, well, I mean, sometimes you're nice to me, but sometimes you're not nice to me. Now, I don't like that. But it's not about being nice to you. It's not about being nice to the people that you were covering. It's about telling the truth. It's about getting to the core of the issue and talking about what is false and what is not. And so if you are in the media and you're not doing that, then you are not doing your job. And I don't know, as I said, I don't watch Martha McCallum, so I don't really know if she's objective as she claims to be. But if she is, then that's the kind of journalist that you're supposed to be. And maybe the rest of the media, again, if that's true, should take should basically use that playbook and be objective and not just, we're angry at you, we're going to attack you. And again, it's the same thing that they use against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders criticizes the media for, the fact that CNN wants to put up an empty podium of Donald Trump. Well, Bernie Sanders is terrible, and we're going to run 16 op-eds against him, negative articles against him in 16 hours. Don't think that we forgot about that. That's the kind of stuff they do that makes you think, ooh, you know what? Turns out establishment media is an arm of the establishment and is against independent media and progressives. So if you want to stop getting criticized, be objective. Objectivity does not mean doing everything 50-50 down the middle. It means getting to the truth of the matter and telling people the facts. Okay, I think I'm fairly clear on that. Okay. Moving on. We have more stories. Let's get to this. Now, this is an interesting story, right? Okay. Let me set up the next video here. That's why I really need a producer. Okay. A supporter of the president recently apologized to CNN's Jim Acosta for flipping him off. Now, this is nice. Let's take a look.
Live with, what's your name, sir?
Merlin Gilpin.
Merlin and
Eileen.
And you wanted to, you were.
I just wanted to apologize for flipping you off in Tampa.
Thank you.
I got carried away. It's like I was asking for facts and not opinions. And
that's okay.
That's all I know. I understand. That's all we want.
That's very nice of you to say that.
I did get carried away, so I just wanted to apologize.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I accept your apology, and I hope I get to see you again.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys. See ya.
All right, so that's actually kind of refreshing. So there's a few things that I can draw from that. For one, it's good. He apologized, and look, that guy seems like and I know I'm probably going to get heat for saying this, he seems like a perfectly pleasant guy. Him and his wife, I don't agree with him at all politically, or maybe we do agree on some things politically. I don't know. We're definitely against corruption, right? So I don't know what his personal beliefs are, but again, he seems like a nice guy, right? And I've met plenty of people like that whom I disagree with that I can get along with perfectly fine. And he seems like a perfectly lovely person, right? And coming up and apologizing. So, that's one, right? So the second thing is that this goes into a greater conversation about rhetoric, right? So the guy was saying, look, I flipped you off. It's because I was worked up. I was a little worked up. I got a little overexcited. I got a little angry. And that's understandable, right? And so, yeah, I took it out on you. Now, that is the effect that Trump has on people. And the reason I say that is that, again, Donald Trump is a salesman. He's really good at speaking. He's really good at basically finding out what his supporters want to hear and then telling them that. That's what he's good at. He's a snake oil salesman, right? So what he's been doing is he writes, he whips people up. He riles people up by saying fake news, enemy of the people. There they are. There's the fake news. They're going to report terrible on me. Look at them. And so when people are all riled up and they're saying, well, we're obviously not getting facts from you. We're just getting opinion from you. As this guy was saying, well, then, of course, you're going to get mad. Now, the thing is that as much shit as I give CNN, as much shit as I give mainstream media, they actually do come with facts. There's clearly opinion pages, and I don't always agree with their opinion pages, and sometimes I do. There's opinion, and then there's fact. And, you shouldn't conflate those different things, right? So he's thinking, well, I just want facts. Well, okay. Look, I think that's great. And if you actually look at the facts, then you would see that, again, a lot of the things that Donald Trump actually says are actually not true. The stuff about immigration, I've went through and pointed that out. The stuff about the economy, at least some of the stuff comes with some major caveats, like the unemployment numbers, like the jobs numbers, like wages and healthcare. There's a lot of things that you can point out. But unfortunately, for a lot of people who get whipped up, especially into this tribal mentality, which is what we see a lot from both Democrats and Republicans, is that they're kind of resistant to facts that counteract narratives. So, look, this guy, I do want him to be interested in seeing the facts, and hearing him say that is great. Also, hearing him apologize to Jim Acosta, that's also great. And Acosta's like, hey, man, that's fine. I look forward to seeing you again. So, I don't know what lesson to really take away from this. Because on the one hand, again, these are not terrible people, but they believe in some terrible policy. And so I'm against that. But at the same time, it's I don't know what to make of it. Seeing a Trump supporter apologize to a reporter, I think it just really shows you how whipped up people can get from some of this rhetoric. And that rhetoric, it is pretty dangerous. And look, Donald Trump's not going to tone it down. He's going to tone it up. He said before, you know what, I'm going to tone it up. I'm going to tone up attacks. And I just get really worried when there are people, not this guy. This guy is not the kind of guy that's going to actually go and attack people. Yeah, flip people off, maybe call them a name or two. That's fine. You can do that. But I really get worried about the people that are in the audience who are not all there, who will hear the words, the press is the enemy of the people, and actually physically assault them. And that's the problem that I see with this rhetoric. So, okay. Let me see. Moving on. I think we'll do this one more story. Excuse me. And then we'll head out. We'll head out because this might take a little while. All right. So the Trump administration, in response to the immigrant caravan that is about 2 weeks away from the border, is now deciding to send thousands of troops to the border in order to protect America or something like that. Now, look, there's a lot of limitations on what they can actually do. So mainly they're there to provide logistical support, to support border patrol. They're not going to be armed or anything like that because they literally can't because they're on American soil. I mean, just imagine, though, right, how Mexico feels with an armed buildup, if there was an armed buildup of military forces on the southern border. Crazy, right? But that's what Donald Trump plans to do, or at least what he imagines in his mind, what he's doing. But in reality, he's basically just wasting a shit ton of money. Now, how much money? We'll get into that. But first, documents obtained by Newsweek from 2 Defense Department officials show that intelligence officials do not anticipate any terrorist infiltration and only limited involvement of criminal gangs as the caravan follows its projected route. So Trump says we're sending the military to intercept the caravan at our border because it's filled with dangerous people, drug dealers and terrorists, people from the Middle East, etc. And people, that are diseased with leprosy and measles, etc. And the Defense Department is saying, actually, we don't expect any sort of a problem. So then what are they doing there? What are they doing there? They're basically wasting money and time. Now, on Monday, the Pentagon announced that it was sending an additional 5,200 troops to the southern border amid the heated rhetoric from President Trump, including claims of the presence of unknown Middle Easterners, terrorists, and MS-13. Those claims are currently not supported by intelligence on the ground. You think Trump's going to listen to intelligence? You might want to have some intelligence first. But the planning documents include intelligence assessments and precise movement of U.S. forces. Now, there's a PowerPoint that was constructed by the Joint Force Land Component Commander Threat Working Group. God, that's like a word sandwich there. And used in a PowerPoint presentation on Operation Faithful Patriot on Saturday. The documents are unclassified, etc., but for official use only. Now, these documents outline deployment, and as of Saturday, officials plan to send troops to 4 specific parts of entry: Brownsville, Texas; McAllen, Texas; Nogales, Arizona; and San Ysidro, San Diego. I probably butchered and murdered some of those names, but I apologize for that. But that's where they're going. So they're going to the ports of entry. Now, the caravan, if it stays intact, right? Because like some of these caravans, they kind of fall apart or they peel off, or people decided to stay in Mexico, or some return. This one's actually fairly strong because there is safety in numbers. And so this group is like, well, since there is safety in numbers and people know we're coming, then we might as well just stay together until we get to a port of entry. And then when they're there, they will turn themselves in and apply for asylum. You know why? Because they're asylum seekers. They're not going and planning on knocking over fences and trying to get into the country that way. No, they're trying to get into the country the legal way. Since applying for asylum is 100% legal. So that is the legal way to try to get into the country. Now, that said, right? So here we have military forces going to our border to protect against legal immigrants, people trying to get into the country legally through asylum. So how much are we wasting on this? Well, a Pentagon official familiar with the details told that initial values would start within the $50 million range. So $50 million to put these troops in the border for what? Basically a stunt. Basically politicking for the midterms. Oh, look at that. We put troops on the border. We are now safer. America is now safer. Vote Trump. But wait. That doesn't make any sense. Again, that is a waste of money that doesn't actually fit the facts. There is no southern threat on the border, right? Now, there's more details here in Newsweek. The estimated financial figures surged when factoring in the movement of equipment and associated logistical support, combined with the allocation of funds for U.S. troops on temporary duty, according to the source. Now, the official also said that if the deployment were to continue beyond 6 months, and it's supposed to last till about December, in earlier reports, that $50 million estimate would increase, As of Monday, the Defense Department said that the U.S. troops have planned for continued operations until mid-December, a statement supported by the documents supplied to Newsweek. Nonetheless, $50 million, and if they decide, or if there's like another caravan or something, oh, well then I'm gonna send more troops to the border because 2020 is coming up. And we're going to ramp up our 2020 campaign. Again, all this is a stunt. Now, Adam Isaacson kind of disputes that number. He thinks it's a little too low. And he is the director for oversight, research, and advocacy group, the Washington Office on Latin America. Now, he actually thinks that, no, it's actually going to cost about $1 million per day. Now, right now, the Defense Department says, oh, no, it's only going to cost about $200 per soldier a day in logistical costs. Right? And I'm sorry, I actually made a mistake there. That $1 million day figure, that is if it's 200 soldiers per soldier per day in logistical costs. That's still going to be $1 million per day. But he actually believes it's going to be higher than that. He says that the actual cumulative costs of sending 5,000 troops will likely be much greater than $1 million per diem. Now, the reason that he comes to that conclusion is that he actually looked at some historical facts. Now, previous deployments, for example, of National Guard troops to the southern border under former Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush could provide some insight into how much it's actually going to cost. In Operation Jumpstart, for example, Bush ordered the deployment of 6,000 National Guard troops to California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. U.S. service members were stationed there for 2 years, from June 2006 to July 2008. Bush had announced the measure in May 2006 as an immediate step to support the Border Patrol's efforts at the border. In testimony published in April 17, 2012, Major General John Nichols of the Texas National Guard revealed that the deployment cost the U.S. a total of $1.2 billion. Now, that works out to approximately $100,000 per soldier per year. Now, that's for 6,000 troops. Donald Trump wants to bring about 10 to 15,000 troops to the border. And it's starting with 5,000. $50 million, it's going to be far more than that. Not only that, but under the Obama administration, the U.S. deployed National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border under Operation Phalanx, an initiative that mobilized 1,200 service members in July 2010. Documents released by the Government Accountability Office showed that the first year of that deployment cost $110 million. Working out to roughly $91,666.66 per troop that year. That's a lot of money. Now, of course, $50 million for less than 6 months, right? For a couple of months is, look, not great. That's a lot of money. They're going to be wasting a ton of money just putting them on the border. And again, they're not doing anything. They're not armed. They're providing logistical support. Most of them are going to be sitting on their ass and not doing anything. And look, hey, thank goodness for that. Thank goodness they're not armed. What a disaster would that be? Having armed troops on the border between U.S. and Mexico. Are you trying to start a war with Mexico? I don't know. Maybe in Trump's mind he thinks, oh, winter. That'd be great for us. Oh, yeah. But in reality, look, this is a waste of money that is predicated on a non-existent threat. The threat of the so-called caravan, right? And they are doing nothing but ratcheting up this horrific fear-mongering. And so that's what they're doing, you know. So that's money that could have went to, I don't know, Medicare, Medicare for all, or helping people go to college. And we're just going to waste it on a stunt. But hey, he doesn't care. It's not his money. It's your money. It's taxpayer money. So if that helps him, if wasting your money helps him keep a majority in Congress, well, then that's good for him, but not great for you. Okay. That's it, guys. That's all I got for you. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. I'm going to check to see if I have any more super chat messages. No, but thank you to LL. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who has signed up to become a patron. You guys are awesome. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll have a great show tomorrow, so thank you. All right. Love you guys, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, TWT Nation. We'll see you guys tomorrow.